Shalom, Kal Halayimla, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to my apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. And Shalom to the 144,000 and the elect. I'm Zion, and this is another video entitled The First Book of Samuel, Chapter 1. Lord will, you are edified. We're going to start in the King James Version. Headline reads, the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel made up one book originally. So originally 1st and 2nd Samuel was in one book. It remained so in the Hebrew text until the publishing of the Hebrew Bible in AD 1517, where it appeared as 1 and 2 Samuel, 1st and 2nd Samuel. The Septuagint and other translations of the Old Testament that followed divided the books of 1st Samuel, of Samuel. Let's start over. The Septuagint and the other translations of the Old Testament that followed divided the books of Samuel and Kings into 1st Kings through 4th Kings. Now let's go look up Septuagint in the Harper's Bible Dictionary. Let's see what we get. Septuagint, Harper's Bible Dictionary. Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament that began in the 3rd century BC in Alexandria, Egypt. The name Septuagint comes from the Greek word of 70, hence the symbol in Roman numerals LXX, which equals 70, and refers to the 72 Jewish translators brought to Egypt by Ptolemy II Philadelphus, 285 through 246 BC. And these are not the real JOOs. The real JOOs are the southern kingdom, which are the Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. These JOOs are the ones that say they're JOOs, but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Let's go back. The name Septuagint comes from the Greek word for 70, LXX, in Roman numerals equals 70, and refers to the 72 JOO translators brought to Egypt by Ptolemy II Philadelphus, 285 through 246 BC, to translate the Pentateuch according to the legendary account in the letter of Aristeas. The translations of the books of the Old Testament differ in style, accuracy, and substance, indicating that there was no single original translation into Greek. So there's different translations that go into this book. And it says that anything that is translated from Hebrew into another language have not the same effect. Okay, let's read on. Manuscripts found at Qumran among the Dead Sea Scrolls and other early manuscripts and quotations from the Septuagint and ancient writings all indicate that revisions were constantly being made to the Septuagint. See, they kept going in and making different translations from the Hebrew to the Greek. and all of them weren't the same. In addition, Hebrew manuscripts found at Qumran differ from the standard Hebrew text. See, from the standard Hebrew text into Greek, it wasn't, the meanings have slipped. The meanings from the Hebrew to the Greek weren't really the same. Hebrew manuscripts found at Qumran differ from the standard Hebrew text, the Masoretic text, but agree with some of the Greek renderings in the Septuagint. Thus, the Septuagint often witnesses to a Hebrew manuscript tradition different from and earlier than the Masoretic text, and so is valuable in solving textual difficulties. The Septuagint sometimes has a different order within books and a shorter or longer version of a book. For example, Jeremiah is 1/8 shorter in Greek and may derive from a Hebrew version earlier than the one presently in the Hebrew Bible. The order of the materials in Psalms and Proverbs differs from the Hebrew text, and Joshua has many additions, omissions, and changes. Finally, several later Greek translations were made. Aquila, Theodotion, Lucian, and parts of these have found their way into the Septuagint. Back into the King James. The books of 1, 1st, and 2nd Samuel made up one book originally. It remained so in the Hebrew text until the publishing of the Hebrew Bible in AD 1517, where it appeared as 1st and 2nd Samuel. The Septuagint, what we just went into, and other translations of the Old Testament that followed divided the books of Samuel and Kings into 1st Kings through 4th Kings. The principal characters of 1st Samuel and 2nd Samuel are Saul and David. Now let's look up that word kings in the Harper's Bible Dictionary. Bear with me. Kings, the 1st and 2nd books. Let's see. Let's see, is there something? Let's go to King. King, in both the Old Testament and New Testament, a term designating a male sovereign who exercised ultimate political authority over a city-state, a nation-state, or an empire. So these were men out of the tribes of Israel that had sovereign power. A king generally held office for life, and monarchies in the biblical world were generally hereditary. In the Old Testament, the Israelite king may also be referred to as a prince, as in 1 Samuel 9 and 16 and 1 Samuel 13 and 14, a title that may point to one who is so designated by Yahweh. While king is a designation given by people, the king in Israel is also called the anointed one, as in 1 Samuel 2 and 35 and Psalm 132 and 17, from which the term Messiah is derived. Back into the King James Bible. Furthermore, the book of 1 Samuel presents in detail the transitional phase between the period of the judges and the period of kings. Now let's look up that word judges in the Harper's Bible Dictionary. Judge. The Book of Judges, Harper's Bible Dictionary. The Old Testament Bible book containing stories of the period between Joshua and Samuel, which were collected early in the monarchy, later edited into a national history, late 17th late 7th century BC, and finally re-edited after the destruction of Jerusalem in 587 BC. Let's see if we can find a better definition. Okay, let's go back to the KJV. Furthermore, the book of 1 Samuel presents in detail the transitional phase between the period of the judges and the period of the kings. During this time, Yahweh instituted the offices of prophet and king, the latter replacing the office of the judge as Israel's political leader. So the king was Israel's political leader. It is important to note that the prophetic function did not originate at this time. Moses and Deborah are examples of those who were both political leaders over Israel and prophets in Exodus 3:11-22 and Judges 4 verses 4 and 5. These should be distinguished from the prophets from the first time forward who were not rulers used in prophetic capacity, but those who held the office of prophet. It is not until Samuel organized the company of the prophets in 1 Samuel 19 and 20 that the office seems to have been formally established in Israel. Samuel bridged the gap between the periods of the judges and kings in that he was the last one to serve as a judge in Israel. And that he anointed the first two kings of Israel, Saul and David. The book is divided into two sections. The first 7 chapters outline the life and ministry of Samuel, and the remainder of the book describes the events during the reign of Saul. The climax is reached when Yahweh rejects Saul as king for disobeying his command and instructs Samuel to anoint David, the son of Jesse, as the next king in 1 Samuel 15 and 26. Bear with me, I gotta get that definition for judges. I'm going to blue letter. Judges in the blue letter. We're gonna let Esau say it.
Strong's H 430 Entry 1. Eloach. Eloach. Second entry. Elohim. Elohim. And the third entry. Eloach. Eloach.
Alahayim. Alahayim. Outline of biblical usage, plural, rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. So these were the rulers over Israel at the time. And let's go into kings. Let's get that. Let's get that definition too while we at it. Let Esau say it out in the Blue Letter Bible.
Strong's H 4428. Melech. Melech.
Malak. Malak, which is king, royal, king, a king. So the judges and kings were rulers over Israel at this time period. Now let's go into 1 Samuel chapter 1. The book of 1 Samuel chapter 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephrathite. And Ephraim is the Puerto Ricans out of the tribe of Israel. Verse 2. And he had two wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children, which means she was barren. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Let's look up that word Shiloh, the Harper's Bible Dictionary. But first, Salakia, let's get Samuel in the Harper's Bible Dictionary, then we'll go into look up the word Shiloh. Samuel out of the Harper's Bible Dictionary, a prophet who ruled Israel at the end of the period of the judges and anointed the first two kings. He is the dominant figure at the beginning of the first of the two books of the Bible that bear his name, 1 Samuel. Samuel's father, Elkanah, was an Ephraimite, a Puerto Rican out of the tribe of Israel, from the village of Ramathaim Zophim. Samuel's mother, Hannah, who was barren before his birth, had prayed for a child during a visit to the temple at Shiloh, promising to devote him to the service of Yahweh. In 1 Samuel chapter 1. Now we're going to go to see what Shiloh is, where they went to worship yearly. Shiloh, Harper's Dictionary, an ancient religious center of Israel, located about 10 miles north of Bethel to the east of the Jerusalem-Nablus Road in Judges 21 and 19. It is identified with modern Kirbet Silun. Shiloh was the administrative and religious center for the Israelite tribes during the early settlement period, 12th century BC. There the tabernacle was set up in Joshua 18:1. The distribution of the land by lot took place in Joshua 18:19. The Levites were assigned their cities in Judges 21, and the 10 tribes gathered to consider the apostasy of the East Jordan tribes in Joshua 22. Shiloh was the central sanctuary and seat of the priesthood Eleazar, Joshua 21, verses 1 and 2. Eli and his sons, 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 3 and 9. Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 24, chapter 3, and verse 21, until the ark was captured in the battle with the Philistines at Ebenezer in 1 Samuel chapter 4. Now let's go back to the King James Version, chapter 1, verse 2. And he had 2 wives. This is Samuel. Samuel has 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. These priests were Levites of the tribe of Levi. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, he gave to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, but the Lord had shut up her womb. Verse 6. And her adversary also provoked her sore, for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. And her adversary here is her rival wife, which is Peninnah. Verse 7. And as he did so year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, so she provoked her. So Peninnah provoked Hannah every year they went up to the house of the Lord in Shiloh. Therefore she wept and did not eat. Then said Elkanah her husband to her, Hannah, why weepest thou, and why eatest thou not, and why is thy heart grieved? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons? So she was grieved because she couldn't bear children unto her husband Elkanah. And Elkanah told her that why she's grieving, because he's better to her than 10 sons. But she wanted to bear child of her husband, because this was a good thing back when people could bear men child and to pass on their lineage through their children. Verse 9. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh, and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord, and she was in bitterness. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. Verse 11. And she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a man child, that I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And the vow that she vowed was a Nazirite vow. The Nazirite vow, the Nazirite vow is the outward sign of not shaving Samuel's head, was in association with the Nazirite vow. Numbers 6:2-21. Apparently, Samuel, like Samson in Judges 13:4-5, was to be a Nazirite. The difference was that Samson was a Nazirite by Yahweh's instruction, And Samuel's mother made the vow for her son. As a result of her faith toward Yahweh, Hannah's prayer was answered. Back in 1 Samuel chapter 1 verse 12. And it came to pass, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli marked her mouth. Eli was the priest. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thine wine from thee. So Eli the priest at Shiloh thought she was drunk because she was talking, but it was low under her breath, but her mouth moved, and thought that she was drunk, but she wasn't drunk. She was praying a prayer unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. 1 Samuel chapter 14. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thine wine from thee. And Hannah answered and said, No, my Lord, I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. See, she was praying to the Lord. She poured out her soul and she was praying unto the Lord. You know how you say things, you pray with a low voice, but your lips move. That's what she was doing. Verse 16. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, which is the wicked. Belial is the wicked. For out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the power of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked of him. And she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad, because Elkanah, Salakia, because Eli had blessed her, and through her faith, her prayer was answered. Verse 18. And she said, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. 19. And they rose up in the morning early and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house in Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. When it says knew here, means they had sex. Verse 20. Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked of him of the Lord. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer unto the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah went not up, for she said unto her husband, I will not go up until the child is weaned, and then I will bring him, that he may appear before the Lord, and there abide forever. And Elkanah her husband said unto her, Do what seemeth thee good, tarry until thou have weaned him. Only the Lord established his word. So the woman abode, and gave her son suck until she weaned him. Verse 24. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bullocks, and 1 ephah of flour, and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young, and they slew a bullock, and brought the child to Eli the priest. And she said, O my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here, praying unto the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition which I asked for. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. I want to say Shalom. Kahalayimla, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors to my apostles, a great millstone. And Shalom to the 144,000 elect. This has been chapter 1. Lord will, I can come back with chapter 2. And Lord will, you have been edified. Shalom.